Okay, so this game you're seeing right here is something special. You can just feel it has something many recent games do not have at all. It's different, it's brutal, it plays with your mind, it wants to shake things up a little bit, move the gaming industry forward and create new expectations. Thanks to a bunch of new interviews and gameplay details, we know it actually wants to revolutionize horror, FPS and realistic games in general, like Crysis did to FPS and realistic games. I'm not comparing it to Crysis at all, it's just very rare to see such games that are pioneers nowadays. When we see such unique games like these appear out of nowhere, we have to support them, and having been in contact with the team for a while now, you can tell they are very mysterious and excited about this project. We're gonna talk about these details in the video, also its inspiration with Half-Life 2, Fear and much more. When I first saw Ill back in 2021, it wasn't a gameplay showcase or some polished vertical slice. It was a 1-minute concept reel, more like a hallucination than a trailer. Slow, disorienting, soaked in disgusting biological horror. A gunshot here, a twitch there. You didn't see mechanics, you saw intent, something raw, something disturbing. It didn't feel like another horror game playing to nostalgia or cheap scares. It felt like a warning, and it was all being made by actual talented animators that love creepy horror. The studio behind it, Team Clout, wasn't even a studio in the traditional sense back then. They were horror artists and practical effects specialists, people who'd been working on genre films like Longlegs, VHS, Azrael, and even HBO's Welcome to Derry. That background matters. These weren't developers looking to build a franchise. They were horror creators trying to bottle dread in real time. The game wasn't born in a boardroom, it was born out of obsession with how fear feels when it's physical, wet, suffocating, and unpredictable. But it wasn't sustainable. For years they juggled freelance work in the horror industry while building the game in pieces. Until mid-2023 this game was just a passion project being carried by mood and concept trailers. And then Mundfish came in through their boutique publishing label Powerhouse. That partnership changed everything from 4 people to over 50. From scattered concept work to actual in-engine development with real systems, real AI, and fully playable builds. That's when the game went from interesting to potentially game-changing. Most horror games lean on atmosphere, some lean on gore, a few try to be scary while still feeling like traditional shooters. ILL is doing something else. It's looking at physicality as the root of horror, how rooms react, how bodies collapse, how gunshots ripple through a space like a thrown brick through glass. It's not about telling you you're in danger, it's about making you feel it with every step. That's where Half-Life 2 comes in, not because of the crowbar or the story beats, but because of the environmental interactivity. In this one game though, every room is volatile, every object reacts, debris stays where it falls, blood dries where you spill it, you come back to an old hallway and find everything you left behind. And if a shelf collapses in a fight, that wasn't scripted, you made that happen. You have to live in the aftermath of every decision. This is horror with memory. Then there's Fear, a benchmark for reactive AI and gunplay. Ill builds on that legacy, not by copying tactics, but by making its enemies feel truly unstable. These things don't move with logic, they lurch, they hesitate, they convulse. You might shoot one and watch it stagger into a wall, mutter something, then split open and spawn something else. You're not fighting enemies, you're dealing with entities that might not even want to kill you in conventional ways, they're just wrong. And that wrongness is core to the experience. The dismemberment system is where Soldier of Fortune gets a nod, but here it's not just spectacle. If you shoot off an arm, that enemy might still crawl or mutate or burst something. There are no guarantees. You don't just weaken enemies, you change the shape of the fight, sometimes for the worse. Now factor in the setting. Originally it was supposed to be set in a small American town, a kind of rural RE7 style setup, but that changed. Now it takes place in a decaying Eastern European fortress, this old brutalist Soviet space that feels more haunted by history than anything supernatural. Cold, metallic, claustrophobic. A place where the power's still running for no reason. A place where maybe something's living in the wires or the walls. You don't get wide open maps, you get multi-path corridors, maze-like chambers, backtracking with consequence. It's not trying to wow you with scale, it wants you trapped. Sound design reinforces that. This project uses binaural audio, so sound isn't just stereo, it's spatial. You hear floorboards creak to your left, something wet breathing behind you, metal scraping 2 floors up. You hear space the way you would in real life. And that doesn't just heighten tension, it weaponizes it. You'll spend entire segments not firing a single shot, just turning corners slowly, listening. Not because the game tells you to, but because you have to. Guns, when you do fire them, are loud, blinding, and kick like real machines. Every reload is deliberate. Attachments and modifications give you flexibility, but this isn't a game about power fantasy. This is about surviving with imperfect tools. Sometimes a suppressor is a luxury, sometimes you're better off using nothing and hoping your footsteps don't wake something. And then there's the inventory system. You don't get bottomless pockets, you don't get generous auto heals, you get scarcity, tough choices, crafting on the fly. Carry too much, you're slower. Forget a healing item, that wound festers. Exploration isn't just for lore, it's for survival. Do you search the room and risk a fight, or move on half prepared? The game forces that tension constantly. Where Isle starts to feel truly different is in how it rejects clean categorization. It's not action horror, it's not just survival horror either, it's reactive horror. Every system, the AI, the physics, the sound, the combat, feeds off the idea that things are unstable, that you don't control the space, the space reacts to you. That philosophy touches everything. You're not just navigating a horror setting, you're trying to survive inside a world that actively resists being predictable. And that brings us to the creatures. Team Cloud leans into body horror not as visual shock, but as design logic. Every enemy looks like something that wasn't meant to survive. Think David Cronenberg meets Soviet industrial decay. A torso with no skin, dragging multiple arms behind it. A headless creature that finds you by echolocation and moves like it's being yanked by invisible strings. You're not just shooting monsters, you're watching them mutate mid-fight, reconfiguring their own anatomy to adapt to you. It's disgusting, yes, but more importantly, it keeps you off balance. There's no typical combat rhythm here. Every encounter plays differently. So why does this matter? Because horror games, even good ones, tend to follow safe frameworks. They go linear or they go open world, they jump scare or they go quiet. They give you enemies, puzzles, maybe they put a little psychological spin, but ILL is messing with physicality in a way that hasn't really been done in horror shooters before. It's trying to simulate chaos, not scripted horror, but living reactive horror. It's not just unsettling because of the monsters, it's unsettling because you can't rely on the systems to behave the way you expect. That's a huge shift. What Team Cloud is doing here could change how indie horror games think about immersion. We've had atmosphere, we've had scares, but making everything from body physics to AI behavior to environmental destruction react in real time to your presence, that's a different scale of commitment. It's not a shooter with horror elements, it's horror in the shooter's blood. The partnership with Powerhouse, the label under Mundfish, isn't just funding, it's infrastructure. It lets a small, obsessive creative team scale up without being absorbed, without losing the grime. It gives them tools to go further without sending off the weird edges. And you need those edges. Horror needs to be weird, it needs to feel like it might break, but we still don't have a release date, and that's fine. What we do have is a game that feels like it's not trying to be the next Resident Evil or the next Dead Space. It's trying to be the first of something else. And if it lands the way it looks like it might, if the systems hold together under pressure, it's going to raise the bar, not just for indie horror, but for how we think about fear inside a combat sandbox. This isn't safe horror, it's not cozy, it's not fun in the traditional sense, it's ugly, it's physical, and it's entirely unafraid to be disturbing. And that's exactly why it could be one of the most important horror shooters of the decade. And if you want more interviews and more exclusive content on this game, make sure you like the video right now and subscribe to stay tuned.